Hello all, welcome to study 49 of the Solving Studies to Improve Chess Calculation series. This position is from Vladimir Kovalenko. I really enjoyed this one. It was really challenging. And I was not able to solve it perfectly. In the last phase, I was not able to find the best defensive moves. Uh, I think the solution by itself it's good enough to have enjoyment with this one. As always, if you haven't watched the guide, so you are more prepared for the practice, and if you are already ready, then the countdown will start. And as always, I catch you back with the solution. And here we are, and as always, let's start with the first move, which is G4 check exclamation mark. Well, we are fighting for a draw over here. And the first thing that comes to mind is we have a lot of pieces being attacked. One rook over in e5, another one in g2. Then we also will have to deal with something like the pawn taking on e2 or advancing to promote. So then there is a knight also attacked by two pieces. This is those kind of positions that we know for sure that we need to find force moves for the first ones. And of course the first try that I think many make is to go with rook h2, but after the knight blocking it, well, even if we try to sacrifice the rook, then after a while I can see how we can progress, and then we need to deal with this counter attack, and very fast we are going to be checkmated. So not a good idea. And then we start to wonder, okay, but the other also possible is to go with the pawn, and lucky for us, it will work. But we need to go deeper. So the first thing, of course, is the pawn needs to take back, so this is obvious. There is no queen take because the sacrifice is not enough. We simply can take a lot of pieces and get the draw very fast. So after here, we are going to take the pawn. If the pawn advances, we simply go with the knight and we are ready to guarantee and keep the draw until the end. So not being able to sacrifice the queen to save the game for a win for black, well, I think this is obvious. We need to take with the pawn, and now we open the file, the H file for our rook, and of course we are going to check the king. Only possible way for the king is to block it with the knight. So these are forced variations. And now it's white to play, and here we need to keep testing black. We still need to deal with the f pawn. So I think here we have two good options. Either we sacrifice with the rook in h4, or we sacrifice with the rook in g5. Let's see first what happens if the rook sacrifice on g5. Not a good idea because the king simply takes him. Now, even if we take the knight, well, how we are going to finish this one? Well, we are able to fork the queen, so winning the queen back, but the king goes to h3, and after we take the queen, we realize that the f pawn will be decisive, f2, and then checkmate almost next. At least it will promote to the queen. And if I go to try to block the checkmate, then the pawn just takes checkmate on next move. We still have a pawn to move. So this one doesn't work. So let's focus on the other one. So check. Of course, the bishop can take because it's spin. So this is forced again, and now it's uh, white to play. Okay, we are going to catch the queen. Of course, we can't let these opportunities escape. So we are going to fork it. The king can come back, but I don't think it will be enough. So the more threatening one is to go to a3. I don't think we need much calculation. If the king goes back, we simply are going to take the queen, and now the pawn can't promote. Just notice that if the pawn advances, we simply can come with the king, and there are a lot of ways to stop it, and so it will be a win for white instead of a draw. So, of course, black needs to move the king to h3. And now we take the queen, of course, no other move possible. And now starts the more challenging threats from black. Here is the moment when we are calculating where we need to shift to find the best moves for black. Because otherwise, if it's just going to be simple, well, it's going to be an easy win for white. So here, basically, the threat is to advance the pawn. So the same idea. trying to force it. So let's do it. And of course, now white is forced to control the promotion. So basically, also another forced move. But now black advances the pawn to g3, and things start to be complicated. And more or less, it's from here that we are normally missing the good solution, because we are seeing, of course, that not only black is threatening to check the king, it will be checkmate. So the rook only chance is to go pinning the pawn. Okay, this is the start of the final phase of the solution, and we are going to see two very interesting variations. So if you haven't reached here, I'm going to give it now. One variation will be to promote the pawn to a queen, and the other variation will be to bring the bishop to e3. This is not an easy defensive move, an easy defensive, no, an easy move from the opponent. I won't say defensive because black is fighting for the win. Sorry. Uh, and we need to calculate both. Let's see the simple one, a very interesting approach from black, but which will lead just for a draw. So now it's check. The pawn forks the king and the rook. Of course, the king needs to move. Now the rook. Now it's black to play. So black uses the bishop to check the king. Only possible move is to block it with the rook. Now take the knight. So the rook is pinned already. And if white plays e4, then you simply take the rook. The king takes back, then move the king to h2, and it's a win for black. So, but of course, I don't think this is very hard. White sacrifices less pawn, and then we reach this position where no white piece can move, and it's not check. So it's a stalemate draw. But instead of promoting, let's see the main line, which is to move the bishop first. So now, of course, the rook can take because it will be promotion and checkmate. And also, we are threatening to take the knight and keep the options open, and still threatening to win. And here, white needs to be very precise and very fast. So again, we need to find fast forcing moves, and the best one is to sacrifice the rook check, because let's see, for example, what happens with the other possible knight f5. Well, here we are not only threatening the pawn on g3, and we are keeping the option to sacrifice the rook for the pawn. And of course, if we can sacrifice two pieces for the two pawns, just the king and the bishop will be a draw. So if we are just aiming for the draw, the problem is black can also promote to the queen, so forcing the rook to come down, and it's simply checkmate. Not a good thing to find out after moving. So let's first start by not making that mistake. And the best move, as I said, is to go with the rook sacrificing on g3. Now it's white to play, and now it's time, yes, to go with knight f5. So we are checking. The idea is to try to draw. Of course, now the king attacks the knight. So if the king can catch the knight, then we are going to win with black. And now, final challenge for you: decide where the knight goes. And please be precise, because if you have chosen to take the bishop, you are going to see that very easily black will win. Next move, we are going to promote to the queen, and I think with the queen we can make a solitary king. So here, the only good move is to go with g3. This should have an exclamation mark, I forgot about it, because when the king takes the knight, then it's a draw, and black can't really allow the knight to be there, because now it's controlling the promotion square, and of course one piece and just 2 pounds is equal material, and white is going to save the day. So the king takes, and we got the aimed draw. Not an easy position when we started. lots of maneuvers around, lots of tactics. But I think it's a very enjoyable solution. And as always, I hope you also have found that. Uh, See you again in future studies. Bye bye.